My name is Olivia Matthews, and I used to believe that life only gave you one chance to get things right. That if you messed it up, if you made the wrong choices, then that was it. No do-overs, no turning back. But then, something happened, something that changed everything I believed about life, about love, about family, and about myself. This is the story of my second chance. The kind of second chance that doesn't just show up. It's the kind you have to fight for. And before I can tell you where I ended up, I have to take you back to the beginning. Back to a time when I thought I had everything figured out. I grew up in a small town in Indiana, where everybody knew everybody and secrets didn't last long. I lived in a white two-story house with blue shutters and a porch swing that squeaked every time you sat on it. It was the kind of town where the high school football team mattered more than city politics, and Friday night bonfires were sacred. It was safe, simple, and predictable, and I hated it. You see, from as early as I can remember, I had this itch, this feeling deep in my chest that I was meant for something more. I used to sit on that squeaky porch swing and stare out at the stars, wondering what was waiting for me beyond our quiet streets. I didn't want safe or predictable. I wanted adventure. I wanted stories to tell, and I was convinced that the only way to get them was to leave. So I made a plan. I studied hard, worked every odd job I could find, and applied to colleges far away. I got into a university in New York, my dream city. The day I left, my mom cried, my dad tried not to, and my younger brother Jake gave me a high five and said, "Don't forget us when you're famous." I laughed, hugged them all, and drove away like I was heading into the life I was always meant to live. New York was everything I thought it would be: loud, alive, electric. I made friends who were different from anyone I'd ever known. I took classes that challenged the way I thought about the world. I interned at a magazine downtown, got coffee orders wrong for people who barely looked at me, and loved every second of it. But somewhere between the subways and the streetlights, I lost myself. At first, I blamed it on stress. Then I said it was just adjusting to city life. But deep down, I knew the truth. I had wrapped so much of my identity in the idea of leaving my small town behind that I didn't know who I was without that dream. And when things didn't go perfectly, when I didn't land the internship I wanted, or when I bombed a presentation, I felt like I was failing at the only thing that had ever mattered to me: escaping. So I started pulling away. I skipped class. I stopped calling home. I told my roommates I was just tired, just busy, just overwhelmed. But really, I was drifting. Fast. It all came crashing down one February night during my second year. I had missed yet another class and was avoiding my professor's emails. I remember sitting in my tiny apartment eating cold noodles out of the carton when my phone rang. It was Jake. I hadn't talked to him in weeks. "Hey, Liv," he said. His voice was quiet, different. "Can you come home?" "Jake, what's going on?" "It's Dad." I didn't hear anything else after that. My heart dropped. That plane ride back home was the longest of my life. My stomach churned, my mind raced, and every second I spent away from my family felt like a betrayal. When I walked into the hospital room, I saw my mom first. She looked smaller somehow, like the strength she always carried had deflated. Jake stood next to her, his eyes red and tired. And there, lying in the bed, was my dad. The man who once lifted me onto his shoulders at the 4th of July parade. The man who always grilled burgers too long because he said he liked them well done. He had suffered a major heart attack. The doctor said he was lucky to be alive. Lucky. That word echoed in my mind for days. I stayed in Indiana longer than I planned. At first, it was to help, to drive Dad to appointments, to pick up groceries, to cook dinner. But somewhere in those quiet moments, something shifted. I started noticing things I never did before. How my mom still hummed the same lullaby when she was worried. How Jake had grown taller and quieter in my absence. How Dad, even in his recovery, still tried to make everyone laugh. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't want to leave. But leaving was what I did. It was the plan. It was the whole point, right? One evening, about 3 weeks after I came back, I sat on that old porch swing, the one that still squeaked, and stared at the stars like I used to. Only this time, the stars didn't represent escape. They represented something else, something deeper. I realized then that maybe I hadn't been searching for adventure. Maybe I had been searching for meaning. And meaning wasn't always found in bright lights and tall buildings. Sometimes it was in family dinners and backyard laughter and quiet porch swings. That was the first time I thought maybe I had gotten it all wrong. I didn't go back to New York that semester. I took a leave of absence and stayed home. I started volunteering at the local library, helping kids with reading. I reconnected with old friends. I learned to cook more than ramen and microwave eggs. And slowly, piece by piece, I found a new version of myself. One that didn't need to run to feel worthy. One that was okay with not having all the answers. My dad got stronger. My mom smiled more. Jake opened up about college and dreams of his own. And me. I finally started writing again, not for a magazine or a grade, but for me. Then came the letter. It arrived one sunny afternoon, tucked in with the rest of the mail. It was from my university. They were checking in, wondering if I planned to return in the fall. I stared at it for a long time. That envelope represented everything I had once wanted, and everything I wasn't sure I wanted anymore. I talked to my parents that night. "You don't have to decide now," my dad said, his hand resting gently on mine. "But you should know," my mom added. "We're proud of you, no matter what." It was then that I realized something important. Second chances aren't about going backward. They're about moving forward with a better understanding of who you are. So, I did go back, but not to New York. Instead, I transferred to a smaller college just an hour from home. I majored in education, started tutoring full-time, and kept writing in my free time. And every weekend I came home to porch swings and game nights and family barbecues. Life didn't end up looking like the dream I had when I was 14. It turned out even better. Today, I'm a teacher. I run a creative writing club after school, and I encourage my students to dream big. But I also remind them it's okay if those dreams change. It's okay to come home. It's okay to start over. Because sometimes life gives you a second chance, and when it does, you take it.